Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Tyler Perry episode of Divine Panther Presents. Today we shall be discussing the Ruthless, but this is a very actually special episode since Ruthless is on hiatus right now. We have one of the writers for this show, Osokway Vasquez, who's been very kind to come hang out with us. As you know, if you're one of our members, he's been in the chat several times, and he is brave enough to come hang out with us and talk about what this show means to us, what it means to you. So Stacey and I are going to run them through a few questions. Please, if you're living with us, please provide questions. We'll do our best to go through that. We're going to be here for about an hour. So if we don't get to your questions, he'll come back. We'll do this again. This is our first time. So again, we're very, very excited to have one of the people who provide the content that we go through to be here with us. And we appreciate that. But again, am I supposed to say, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. You can like on the video. You can comment on the video. You can share the video. Also watch the video till the end. It helps out with the algorithm or something. And maybe one day I'll get monetized and pay for these Nike things I wear. Anyway, so sit back, enjoy the intro, and then we'll get into this talk. How about that?
Oh, wait. I got to do it now. Wait. This is going to be funny. Wait. You ready? I got to do it.
This is awesome. This is awesome. This is amazing. I love it.
It was psychological. It was emotional.
Extremely entertaining.
But as always, as we try to say here, as we said, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And as we talk about this video, please like on the video and comment on the video, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Yes, if you're watching this video, you're asking yourself the question, when is Ruthless coming back? We'll get to that. It's on the list of questions. We have a set of questions. We're going to get to that to the end. Just hold your horses. All right. But anyway, we're here for the guest. Mr. O, please introduce yourself to everyone, and then we'll get to the question, sir.
Hey, everyone. My name is Osokway Vasquez. I am one of the writers on Ruthless Season 5.
So you say that. How did you join the Ruthless universe?
So I was not familiar with the show at all. I hadn't watched it before they reached out to me. They reached out to my agents. They had read a sample script that I had written. They had really liked it, and they were like, hey, we want to bring this guy in. So I did a complete binge of Ruthless from season 1 to the end of season 4. We were given season 4 early too, so I was able to see the whole thing. And yeah, it was quite a lot. It was like a 3 or 4 day binge that I went on.
All right, all right, Stacey. What do you want to ask him after binging that many episodes of Ruthless?
Wow. Honestly, what did you first say? Because I know what I first thought when I've been season 1. I was like, baby, you got to watch this show. This is insane. So what did you get from it? Did you think like, this is nuts, or this is cool, or this is like, what was your first impression?
I think I thought I was leaning more towards this is cool. I like the concept of the story. It had a lot of great cliffhangers every episode. I thought it was just very nice to bring you throughout the season. I did feel bad, if I'm being honest. I did feel bad for people watching it week to week, because I think when you binge it, you're like, man, I'm engrossed in this world. I'm just in it. Week to week, you're stepping out of it. You're having to come back in and familiarize yourself with everything. And some of the content is pretty heavy. So, you kind of want to just stay in it, digest the whole thing, and move on, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to see a gang rape here, and then I'm going to, come out of that and then come back into the repercussions of that. So
it's interesting that you went there. So to your point of binging, like as I said, Stacey and I, we binged it first, and then like again, you see all the craziness like in a succession, right? And then you can see like usually when you binge something, you see patterns after a while, especially with the writer. There's a formula, and it starts to come right. And then did you see any? From a writing perspective, did you see any patterns, any beats that you're like, okay, this is what I'm stepping into if I'm adding my vision to this show?
I think the biggest pattern is probably just the way certain characters work, like the highest. I knew going in that we couldn't take him and be this other character over here. It had to fit with the formula that Tyler Perry had set up for the character and for the world. I also realized pretty quickly about locations. that we weren't going to be able to be like, oh, they're in the mall over here and the story's over here and this and that. It had to really be relegated to the compound. You get at some at the compound and surrounding little areas, but for the most part, the compound. So that's, I remember coming into season 5, and based off the ending of season 4, I was like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do all this. And very quickly it was like, no, they're going to all be back on the compound. And I was like, all right, never mind.
Oh, I know.
So, because and that's not because of this show, like not because of Ruthless, but any show, I would be like, okay, let's explore a couple people being in the outside world. What does that mean? And how do we create a new situation that has to bring them back, or they stay out in the outside world? What does it look like? So you get a measure of that in the first episode of season 5, where like they're in the woods, but that's as far as they get. Nobody gets out of that. So those were things that I had to quickly get used to. But after that, I was able to figure out the rhythm of the show.
All right, Stacey, what you got?
So I know you mentioned kind of before we came on the interview that this show opened you up to be able to do things that you wouldn't do on like a more structured show. Mm-hmm. So how did that kind of enable you to like do the character arcs that you are doing, the storylines? Like how far can you go? Because the first thing I noticed about the show compared to other Tyler Perry shows is they pushed it so much further than they would push it on any other shows. So can you talk about that? As far as having the freedom to just push things?
Yeah, it was, the freedom is nice, but so like I'll give an example. My episode, or one of my episodes, episode 4 of season 5, you have the whole castration thing. And I saw a lot of feedback on that. I saw the comments on your channel, on other people's channel. We were given the order of, we have to do something new with the highest. It's got to up the ante. We got to show that he's off his meds and that he's really starting to go down this spiral. So my first thought was the castration, not because it's a cool thing or a disgusting thing or anything like that. My first thought was, okay, who are these characters? Who are George and Lewis? What is it about them as a character that would make sense for their punishment? Well, you have George and Lewis. You have 2 guys who are sleeping around with the women who are on the compound. They don't care about anything. Lewis is the one with the plan. So I really wanted to take away his vision, because metaphorically, he was the guy with the plan. He's the guy with the foresight. George was the one who was, after the incident with Lacey, which I realized I said that word, so I'm going to stop saying it for YouTube purposes. But after what happens with her, he's literally in the next episode. He's standing there, I think with Manny, and they're looking at her, and he's looking at her like, that was good. Let me get some more of that. So for me, it was like, okay, if he's going to lose something significant, what is it? It's going to be his manhood. So it's always got to come from a place of character. So I love the freedom that I had to explore that and be like, okay, you guys want to up the ante, you want something shocking, I can give you that, but here's a legitimate reason for doing it. As opposed to just being like, I'm just going to do it for the sake of being cool.
So let's go. I didn't even know that he was a part of the glory hole situation. But that being said, how many viewers actually knew he or anyone specifically was a part of that situation?
If you go back to see, what was it, season 4 that it happened, I believe. He is in line. So as long as you're tracking the show and tracking the beats of the show, you know that he was in line when it happened.
I guess it would have been nice. Mm-hmm. Again, this is a great revelation to me. Like watching that scene, seeing the castration, right? If Lacey somehow knows, and it's like he got it, like he got what he deserved, to bring us back to that moment, to be like, in some way she got vindicated, she got her justice, even if it came from the highest, right? Like that would have been like, oh, okay. Like I was like, and then who else? Like we talked about Manny's mad sexual
Sure.
abuse of of Zayn, I mean, and other people, right? But she got her up, like he guys come up and from her, and it was connected. Like you appreciated that. The fact, like, that would have been awesome to be like, whether like, oh, got it. And it would have been like, and that would have made the scene, his castration, more valid, as opposed to just shock value for shock value. For me I would have been
Yeah,
like,
I can see a version of that. No, I could definitely see where you're coming from with that. I think the only thing with that is the scene wasn't about Lacey. It was about River. It was about River and his journey at this point. So while I get the connective tissue, would we have stepped away to show Lacey, who's now in this state of like acting crazy, and sort of showing our hand a little bit of like, no, she's not crazy because she's actually digesting this moment? Or do we keep it with the highest, and we keep it with River because River is in the middle of actually setting up his plan to be in power?
so with that, I would say we don't, when it's revealed that Zayn it's all a cover, right? Like Lacey,
Mm,
excuse me, Lacey, it's all a cover. Like she's just doing it because it's part of the plan. She hears about it. Like she hears about what happened to him, and it's like, at least he got it right. Not like a grand scale. Like
sure.
that's what I'm saying. Like there's a way to be like, it made it out, because you would think that the highest would be like, I told everybody, everybody's gonna get punished, right? Whoever like kidnapped me, that would be Raku news, to be like, we got to make an example out of these two, short of
Sure.
them throwing the penis on the table and being like, hey, this could have been you, like, which it still could be on the table, if you will.
I mean, it could be. I don't know if you need to go that direction.
This is
Um,
BT Plus, and
that
Tyler
that
Perry
is
has done
true.
worse.
That is
So I'm like,
true.
I'm just put it out there back in the room, and be like, hey guys, where'd the penis go? Anyway, so and what can we do with it? Yes, Marcus says, I remember them in line. Well, you good, Marcus. I couldn't tell that there. I saw a whole bunch of butts, and I was like, this don't need to be
Just
happening.
remembers everything.
I was like, damn it. I was like, this is hurting my stomach.
Well,
Anyway,
it's one of those things. It's. I mean, I guess this is with any show really, but like with Ruthless, I feel like you really do have to remember everything to appreciate new things. I mean, I hate
I
to say
hear
it,
you.
but
I
no,
hear
no.
you.
Well, I
I hear
only
you.
say that because like there was on the last review you guys did of episode 8, you guys were talking about, you have that scene where it's Desiree and Cal, right, and they're going through the cabinets,
Yes.
the file cabinets and stuff
Yes,
like
yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes.
And one of the comments that was made was like, well, this is the sheriff's station,
Local
like what?
files. Local
Right.
files.
But you have to remember in episode, I think it was 5 of season 4, the FBI took over the station. So they actually, we saw that they brought in a ton of files. So when the FBI, and this is what I got from Bosch, it's like when FBI comes in, they don't leave the sheriff's stuff in there. They take all that stuff out. This is now their setup. All those cabinets are filled with their documentation. So like, those are the things that, and trust me, I'm not saying that it couldn't be more clear. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying those are the things that there is a connective tissue. There is thought behind those things that you wouldn't see if you're not remembering these moments.
So I great. So I will say, to your point of clarity, right? That would have been an awesome scene. That this belongs to us now. Like all your local stuff, the country stuff is going away. This is now the FBI. We're putting our files in, right?
Mhm.
If they would have went through their own boxes, because for some reason it's 2020 something and they don't have digital stuff, but they just brought hard copy stuff, then that's something to be like. They'd be like, they're like, oh, okay. So this is like the FBI box. That's what I'm saying. Then I would have been like, I would have said cool. But
Yeah,
you're putting a lot up on us that we know that they not only took over the whole shop,
mhm.
cleared out everything, and was like, we're gonna put our stuff in. Where did the local stuff go?
I mean, but that's also not I get what you're saying. I think the only thing is it's not an FBI show. So like, that's a very minor thing to focus on. I mean, they did say in episode 4 of last season, they did say we are taking over, and the sheriff was like, "What the hell?" So they did it. They did set that up. I get what you're saying about the boxes, but yeah,
It's just
normally,
because back. I get you.
yeah,
I get you.
yeah,
Like, I love people like David. They ain't got time for all that. I was like, it just they put time for other things though. Like I just still think they like they spend a lot of time on stuff.
No, I mean, I think that was one of the things that like I did try to push for in season 5. Was just like I would love to see more of the feds. I would love to see them doing more stuff. But there is a reality to it. This isn't a show about the FBI. It's not a show about Desiree and Cal. So they skip over things, and
I
that's
got you. I got
that's
you. I
just
got
it.
and,
Yeah.
and you said some things backstage we will get to. Stacy, please. You have the floor. What's your question?
So when dealing with characters like River and Zane, how do you approach developing complex characters who are both the victims and the perpetrators?
So I mean, we came in obviously season 5. So Tyler Perry sort of did a lot of that foundational work of getting you, because I cared about River pretty quickly into his run. I was like, oh, he's different. I like him as a character. He seems like a guy who's just got caught up in everything, right? So you always want to start from a place of sympathy. So River's coming in. He's an ordinary guy. He talked about going to law school. You don't know if that's real or not, but he mentions that to these recruits. And he just seems like an ordinary guy who's just trying to make it on the compound. With Zane, she came into the story. One of the first things you find out is that she is being pimped out to the cartel, and they're doing all their stuff with her. So you come from these sympathetic places first, so that once you start getting into the more devious, malicious stuff that they do, the more conniving, cunning stuff that they do, we sort of accept it because we're like, hey, I get why they did this. I get this is about survival. I get, so you got to set up that duality and that conflict within the character. And I think it works really well for River and Zane because we like them as characters.
And this particular season, as you know, we mentioned quite often that River has really become much more grounded and much more of a true threat. Like and you understand how he turned the tables on on the Daikon and took the role. And that kind of and it made sense. Like it made sense like to see that kind of progression. Like he was at the bottom, being the bottom, and then he got you're right. I still got it. Anyway, so but he got on top like in one episode, right?
Right.
And it made sense that he used that position to get his new position, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, that is great writing. Anyway, two I saw when they were in line, and they took his balls, not his penis. Again, I feel like that something changed. Something changed between the episodes because he clearly said, I don't need two men without penises. Is what
Yes.
he is what the highest said. And then later on, it turned into testicles. And I'm like, penises. But anyway, sir, what happened? What happened?
All right. So this is a bit of a longer story, so I'll try to condense it as much as possible. Couple of things to know for season 5, especially, is we came into the season early 2023. So there was a looming writer's strike and there was a looming actor's strike. We wrote up until the last day we could possibly write when the writer's strike happened. So I think the writer's strike was on a Sunday. I think it officially started on a Sunday. We wrote up until Saturday night, 11:59. So
Wow.
yeah, and then there's a few things in the episodes that I've even noticed where I'm like, I wonder if the actor's strike had an effect on this. I say that just to say, there some things may have slipped through the cracks. I mean, I wrote episode 4, so my intention was that his penis was taken off. I don't know if there was a miscommunication anywhere, and that got changed, but that was the intent. Was that that's why you see it so visual, because if it was I think the highest would have cut it differently if it wasn't.
Yeah, if it was like under, right? Like he went like from the top, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I was like, to the extent that he could. Anyway, like I said, things could have changed. Storylines could have been like, we're trying to do something different. So we need him to have his shaft and not his nuts or something. And then it's like maybe it's a different story. Like we're gonna use the shaft later. But hold up, Marcus is like, look here, let's not get too much into this. Bottom line, he was castrated.
There you go. That's the way I look at it. But
right. One of them he can pee, one of them he can't, for the record. Anyway, but excuse me. Let's move on from penises.
There we go. What would you like to move on?
Anyway, so we've had okay, team. So we had prepared questions, and now we're just having fun. But I do have prepared. So we talked about the law enforcement angle.
Yeah.
This is actually Stacey's question. I'm not gonna do that one. How about this one? How many writers do you have? Compound question. How many writers are working this season? Since Tyler Perry historically wrote all his stuff himself. And how do the writers work together to come up with the overall season story arc, a storyline, and overall character arcs? Like, do you know where you're going, or you're just trying to get there? That's all.
So there were 6 writers. You have not so far. You've seen the episodes, at least one episode for all of us. You have not seen the 6th writer. I think he wrote episode 12. Yeah, he wrote episode 12. But there were 6 of us. So when we got into the writer's room, we were immediately told by the showrunner, Mark, that this is what Tyler Perry wants. He's got these markers throughout the season that we need to hit. So the goal was, okay, now how do we get to these points in the story? So one of the markers was the highest is off his meds. What are we going to do now? How do we really up the ante with this character who we've seen do a lot of crazy stuff already? That was one. The next one, I can't reveal because it's in episode 9. But that's another major marker. That's actually bigger than the highest one. So that was a major marker of like, this is going to happen in 9. And then there was episode, I think it was, at the time, it was episode 18. And then what I'm hearing is that there's only 16 episodes this season. And again, that may have happened because of the actors' strike. They may have gotten to a point where they just couldn't do, because before our strike, I wrote the last episode before our strike. So I wrote episode 14. And then there were supposed to be 4 more episodes. I don't know if they were able to get to 4 more because of our strike complicating things. And then on top of that, the actor strike happened. So they might have just done 2 and they were like, let's just end the season like that. So there is a lot of information. I know, this is part of the questions later, but just so you know, there is information that as writers, we don't know. Like we're contracted for a set period of time to be on a show. We tell our story and then we move on to the next thing. Whatever the showrunner and does, the production team does to interpret our scripts and how they view it and how they film it and all that, that's completely in their sandbox.
Up to them. You provide them the words and they go from there.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get away with it. Sometimes you can be on set. But once the writer strike hit, we couldn't do anything. It was pens down. You can't be on set. You can't tell them about your script. You can't do revisions. It was just like, that was it.
Okay. So at this point, we could be seeing a lot of on-set interpretation or just changes. Like, hey, I'd rather do this. I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
You know, so now they have your work and they're like, this is how we get in there from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah, because there was a few things that you guys brought up in the show that I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure we did have that. And then I would go back to the script and I'd be like, okay, never mind. It is what it is. Let's move on. And that happens. That happens a lot. That's normal in the writer's process. You can write something a certain way. It doesn't always end up that way. But it was made even more difficult because of the strike. We just couldn't be involved.
I got you. And so we will no longer hold the writer responsible for some of the silly stuff we may see and be like, hey, it is what it is. Stacey, back to you, ma'am. Any questions?
Yes, because you're about to take my question. So we were talking before, you wrote for Bosch, and I know you have a lot of consultants and the things of that nature on that show. As far as this show, do you have any type of law enforcement agents working with you? Any type of people that maybe have dealt with the cult that will tell you like, hey, this is what a cult person would be like?
So as far as the law enforcement and FBI, I sort of became the consultant because I came from Bosch. To be very honest with you, if I had questions, I was able to reach out to the consultants from Bosch and say like, "Hey, how would the FBI do this?" But just know that this is a different show. It's not going to be as rigid, stuff like that. As far as the cult, we had two writers who have life experiences dealing with cults. So they were able to come in with a lot of their experience and a lot of the stuff that you guys see that you're like, oh, this stuff is just crazy. Why would they put this in the episode? These were things that they told us really happened. Like episode 2 was Megan Dane. She wrote that episode, and there was that scene where the classical music was playing, and I remember the critique on that on that scene, and I get it. I totally get it, but that was one of the things that she came in and was like, no, this actually really happens. Where I don't, whether the execution was the way it's supposed to be, that's a different conversation. But it does happen where the torture is not always as physical as you would think. It's more psychological. And they're just trying to wear you down. The fact that George and Lewis are standing up instead of sitting, they're not able to sleep. They're sleep deprived. And then now they're blaring this music, yes, it should be great classical music, but if you're tired, you're just like, shut this off. Like, come on. So that was the motivation behind that. And it's actually a nice little call to what happened in Waco. So in Waco, that was like a 1-day standoff. Yeah. And some of the tactics that they used was they blared bright lights into the compound area, and they blared a bunch of music, because they wanted these guys to be sleep deprived and off their senses. So that was a lot of what we were trying to do with that. But yeah, they brought a lot of these more unexpected, I would say is the best word, unexpected approaches and tactics to the story. So like you see in episode 5 with the what is it, like the container of punishment and all those devices, like that's a real thing. That I didn't know that personally. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. But yeah, so they brought all those kind of real world things into the equation.
I laugh. Oh, okay, so for the record, these were cool things to be added this far into the series. Then that goes to established characters and adding new things like they were old things, right? Because the characters always like, hey guys, remember that time? There wasn't a time. But then it's the execution. It's the execution. Because when the box is this big and you're pulling out fucking shovels, and we're like, that's not a thing. Like that. Hold up, guys. Like, so that's not the writer's fault. Like that's just how they executed it on camera. So we will no longer blame the writers, but some of the stuff to be like, they just got on set. It was like, let's just work with this box and let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and for us, if there was ever an opening in anyone's backstory, if there was ever anything, we took those opportunities to be like, oh yeah, but what if this? What if that? And River is a great example of it. Like, if I forget what episode it was like season 2, maybe episode, I don't know, 9 or something like that. When he is talking to the new recruits, he pauses before talking about being a lawyer. And I was like, but what if he's lying about that? What if that's all just to get these new recruits to come in? But now you've created this lie that you constantly keep going back to. So there's things that may not have been consistent throughout the series, and I will definitely say that. But there was things that, like, there was an opening somewhere that we were like, okay, let's revisit that. Okay. Let's give that a new dimension. Yeah.
Okay. So and again, you're trying to provide like depth again to the characters that didn't necessarily have it before.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, wait a minute. And then people like us are like, he was a street hoe. I remember. Like, it's like, no. It's like, and it's like, well, which was true? And it's like they both could have been true. It just depends, and it depends who he's talking to. It depends who he's talking to.
Well, and that's such an interesting thing about this show. And maybe I'm looking into it too much, but the interesting thing I think about this show is they could all be lying. All their backstories could be because they're in a cult and they're all trying to this is the Game of Thrones kind of analogy. They're all trying to get to the throne, right? So like, who's to say they're not just saying what needs to be said to get what they want?
Yeah, from point A to point B. I got you. I got
Yeah.
you. Stacey, please. What's on your list?
I also just one thing, Stacey. I love how chill you are. Like I love. She'll ask her question. She's just like, "All right, cool. I love this."
People grounded. They crazy.
I dig it.
Both of us can't be crazy. I mean, come on. I mean, so please. That's the
So,
fingers.
who is your favorite character to write and why?
So River. So there's two answers to that, I guess, for me. My favorite character is Zane. I like Zane. I think I like writing strong females. Like I think she could be a really strong female. I like the backstory that she had, and I think there's a lot of legs to her story. But because I was working season 5 and the episodes that I wrote for, I would say it's River. Like I love taking that character who, I wouldn't say he was weak, but he's a pretty weak character initially, and then giving him a sense of purpose, a sense of strength, to the point where he is now the enemy. He's now the villain of the story. Like I love taking him from that, and I really appreciated that they let me do it in essentially one episode. Episode 3 is a lot of setup for episode 4. I try to treat it like a movie. I was like, okay, here's the setup for Act 1 and Act 2. Episode 4 is Act 3. And I was very happy with how that came out. I think the actor's fantastic, and I loved telling that story, and then just kind of giving him a valid reason to turn against his friends, quote unquote friends, and to give him a logical reason to take down Daikon. I don't think it would have worked if Daikon hadn't screwed up so much. If I couldn't lay that out of like, dude, but yeah, I get it. You're good. The highest loves you, and you've had its back, but you messed up here. You messed up here. Then it wouldn't have worked. Like it needed to be that profound, and I needed to be able to draw from all the seasons and be like, yeah, but this guy has really screwed up a lot. He's been given a lot of chances. And then on top of that, to set up that thing where it's like the highest had to say, I don't care if it's even something super small. You got to tell me about it. So like for me, putting that line in there just made River's journeys that much easier to write. And it was just fun to write it.
It's become my favorite character. And I always like the juxtaposition with him and Ruth. I always feel like they're like a yin and yang, like they're like the female and male version of each other. Like they're tugging on the highest in a way, and they have, this way of manipulating people using their sexuality and other things as well. And then like just seeing River kind of take charge, because initially it was Ruth that was always running around bitch slapping everybody and getting people under control. Now you see River kind of come into himself and be like, no, I'm the head bitch now. I'm the one that's going to be bitch slapping people and doing all these things. And I think it's fascinating. I really love what you've done with this character. I hope it keeps going like this because it was really good.
He's so interesting because it's a different dynamic than Daikon. Like initially it was Ruth and having to be opposed by Daikon and having to get around that obstacle that is Daikon. But to your point, I think you articulated it really, really well, is Ruth and River are more like each other than anything. So Ruth is actually at war with herself right now.
That's a good question. I mean, that's a good observation. Yeah. Yeah, because like I know they compete for the highest attention, they're and yes, River has been like the weaker one. He's subjected to more abuse by the highest, whereas Ruth kind of went in and tried to control the situation. Yeah. Like, okay, I'll have sex with you, but we're gonna do it my way. Like, I'm gonna make you do these things to me. It's not just gonna be you doing it to me. I'm gonna make you do stuff for me, And I really did like the way she controlled it, but for River to really find that voice, that strength to kind of go into it and be like, oh, I'm the highest work for me now, and I'm gonna put Daikon in place. And learning that Daikon was a title and not necessarily his name, I was like, wow, that kind of blew my mind when it first came out like that. I
Yeah,
was
that was definitely the room. We collectively came up with that idea because it was like, well, the highest is a title. That's not his name. We clearly established that, but like, how many more of these people? That's not really their names. Um, we don't do it. I will give you that. We don't do it with anybody else, but at least with Daikon, we wanted to. We were like, yeah, but if you strip him down and he's still Daikon, then he still has a sense of identity. But now, if you
like,
make
mhm,
him
right,
Anthony, which we've
mhm.
heard multiple times from Marva, she kept calling him Anthony. So it's like,
Yeah, I wish
no,
he did that.
this is clearly just a title.
Right. And even with like Marva, who was the elder mother, right?
Hmm.
And then Ruth kind of came in and kind of put her in her place.
Yeah.
But she still struggles with Ruth and her struggle, like who's gonna be the top woman in this place. And Ruth is like trying to take that position, but elder mother still wants to be the one who's like, I'm his favorite, and and it's like always this battle with Ruth and trying to take each other down as
Well,
well. So
and that's a great juxtaposition with elder mother and Ruth, and then you have Ruth and River, right? You have two
mhm,
people. The elder mother is the one who's been there longer, who has more of the relationship. Now Ruth has become the one with more of the relationship, and River is the one who's like, yeah, but now I can get him to do what I want him to do. I'm in that
right,
position now of power, and he's kind of always been in that position in one way or another, because of the highest and how he uses River, but now he has fully embraced it. The fact that River was like River went into that trailer knowing he was going to have a bad night, but he had
right,
to do it. He had to go through that because through that now I can lower your defenses for the highest, and now I can start to really manipulate you. For Ruth, it was the same thing. It was like, I can go into your point, I can go in and use my sexuality not to just give you what you want, but you're going to give me what I want, not just physically, but you're going to give me what I want as far as my plans and being able to have your ear.
right. Let's see. So we've talked a bit about just me and David about the child soldiers, how the children are kind of being used in the plot. And in the beginning they were going to be drug mules, and that kind of never went anywhere. But like, is there like a place for the children moving forward in the plot, like as far as them being brainwashed? Are they going to turn against the adults? Is this going to become children of the corn? Or like, can you speak more to like the children's role in the stories at all?
So I can only speak to season five's storytelling for it. So I say that to say yes, I do know there was a couple of things that were dropped along the way. I don't know what the reasons for those things were. Maybe they got to a point where they're just like, we're using kids. This is maybe too much. I know a lot of that was connected to, or I believe a lot of that was connected to like Lilo. So I think once Lilo met his end, that sort of dropped everything else. So that's the only way I can personally justify it. But as far as season five, yeah, we're definitely going to see more of the kids. Um, there is a reason that they are there, and it's not just, hey, we got to bring everyone to the compound. We're going to see how they have been turned into like a little army. And what was it, episode end of episode 5 into episode 6, where you see uh not Tally, but what was it, Alex's daughter, go for
Mhm.
the gun. You're gonna see more of that conflict with the kids of like, okay, but how devoted to the Raku are they, and what are they willing to do uh at the behest of either the headmaster or the highest.
So
Interesting.
real quick. Interesting. The children also think Ruth had a plan since episode 1 to escape the compound, but then to your point, of like you thought we were gonna explore life outside the compound for a little bit, and if you saw our first review, we were like, "What the?" Like everybody is brought back in the same episode, and we're like, "This what?" Like, how did this make any sense to anyone? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
what was the point? What was the point? Like of like everything that they set up at the finale that was such a great ending to Zane and Lacey. Like they had arcs, and it was like, thank you, and we appreciate you, and now you're going. And we thought, oh, we're gonna get new members, so we're gonna start a new story. But they're like, nah, we're just playing with you. We'll bring all these people back. Was that the idea? You didn't write the last season, but walk us through what made the writers go, or did Tyler Perry say, no, these people are coming back and we're just redoing this thing again?
It was more the latter. It was definitely more the latter. I think the logic that I can use behind it, because I know there is a logic behind it. So I want to preface it by saying this is just my impression of it. He may have thought something different. But once you introduce the FBI, and once they were there, you can't now bring in an insane amount of new members, because now the FBI are going to start to be outside the compound. So you really don't have much of a story with the members that you left behind. So you really do have to bring back the core people to the compound. That's the only thing I can think of. Because like I said, I don't know if I said it on a live or when we were talking beforehand, I personally would have explored at least a couple of them being out in the world. And what does that look like? Because like right now we have Aaron. Yeah, he's not really an important character, but he was able to do something. He was able to tell the FBI about the deputy. He was able to tell him about the sheriff and Mac. So to see them out in the world and to be like, oh, that's interesting, or maybe it would have been interesting if one of them did get to the bank, and they're at the bank, and it's like, oh yeah, but you needed this, and the person that what they needed is the other person has, and that person's back in the compound. Now you got to go back.
To your point of introducing, you only have a finite number of Raku members. You can't necessarily bring a whole new like crop. Right, with the FBI on the road, but for the record, that dead deputy is still on the ground, and no one has found her.
Oh no, they did. Yeah. So again, and I can't apologize, but I guess I will apologize because I'm the one representing the show right now. So in season 4, I think it was. I wrote this down. I think it was episode. It was either 19. Yeah. When Desiree says to Aaron, start from the beginning, he's like, oh, there's so much to tell you. And she's like, start from the beginning. That is when he tells her everything. They never revisited it. They didn't go back and be like, hey, we got to go pick up the body. But that is supposed to be when he says, because he saw her get killed.
Okay.
So he reveals that to them, and they went off screen and they took care of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I was like, so
I know there's a lot of little things that like.
I was like, she just laying out there. I'm like, damn it, like justice for this for this deputy. But to the point of now, again, the blockade is up. Within 24 hours, they're about to start eating each other. I'm like, how do we get there? And then, I'm like, okay. But my point is, Alex came out of nowhere. Right, like we never saw we have seen new members kind of come out from the background and be like, hi, I'm a member. And we're like, where did you come from? And then they slowly they get like Obadiah is a great example. Unless you tell me he was somehow mentioned in one of the previous seasons, I would love to hear it, because I'm like, this dude came out absolute nowhere to me. I mean, he came from Godfather of Harlem, but I'm like, how did he get here?
Obadiah isn't mentioned by name, but the idea of Obadiah was mentioned. So that has been talked about with the kids and somebody training the kids. The only reason I say that is because that was one of the things. That's the only reason we were able to bring Obadiah. Was the highest did mention the kids are being trained elsewhere. So it was like, oh, okay, well, if they're being trained, who's in charge of that? bam, let's create Obadiah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Because again, so he was training them to be drug mules. Because we remember the condom situation. And I was like, there's certain things we just stuck with. And I was like, that
No,
never.
definitely,
As
definitely.
Stacey said, that never went anywhere. But was he training them for the Epstein guy who bought them? Because they were supposed to be sold for the new place, right?
My understanding of it, and again, I wasn't there, so I'm only based off of what I was told. And
It's okay.
but my understanding is, like, yeah, he was involved in a lot of that. He was involved definitely with the Epstein guy because he had the kids. He was the one who was like feeding the kids to him. And then my
Oh,
understanding is that there might have been a connection with him and Lilo, and that's
okay.
why they were doing the drug mule stuff. But as I was mentioning to Stacy, I think once Lilo got killed, that's
Yes.
when they were like, well, then why do we need to do the drug mule stuff? Because the only reason to do it was Lilo.
Because he was the drug connection. I mean,
He
I
was,
was
yeah, yeah.
I was in the back. I just wanted Stacy to have her moment. I felt like I was like, you know what? I was like, let me. I was just hanging out. I was just hanging out. I was. I know I saw Stacy. She was like, where
Mhm.
the hell is David? I was like, I'm always here. I'm always here. I just. But no, it was like again, so certain storyline, and again, you are coming in season 5,
Yeah.
and like so. You got to work with what you got, and you got to get them from point A to point B. And it's like, but there's some stuff that already happened, right? So
Yeah.
then you got people like us who just hold on to certain things, and we're like, that's not what. And then like I said, Daikon being a position, not a name, and we were like, what? But anyway, not to cover old stuff. So Obadiah was the position was generally mentioned,
Yeah.
and therefore now you're just trying to flush that out. Would say even especially now that the Epstein situation is done, it would have been nice to say, look, you trained them for this, you trained them for that. Now we need soldiers. Like I would love to do a Children of the Corn thing, like Stacy brought up. That would be an awesome to say the kids fathers. Are there gonna be some fathers in the Raku? Because damn, because like, every time you see a mom stand up and be like, "Where my baby?" I'm like, they got daddies, right? Like at some point.
Yeah, this all I can say to that is this is not that show. It's just not, that's all I can say.
Sorry. In the Raku
Um,
world, there's only one daddy.
yeah,
Anyway.
exactly, and I think they hold strong to that. It's like there's only one father. It is the highest. So all these other guys are just like, all right, we're along for the ride. I also think, I mean, this isn't always the case, but I think, mothers just have a stronger bond with their children than fathers, inherently, normally. So a mother's love is not going to just like, oh, okay, as long as they're here, we're good. It's like, well, no, they're here, and I still think they're in danger. We got to get out of here. And I think that's a lot of what they've been playing on. But again, that was sort of baked into the cake once we got on the show. And we just kept going with that.
So I hear you. So I was definitely like, it was definitely bothering me at some point that Ruth finally remembered that she had a daughter, and then I'm like, again, so we know where her baby daddy's at. But then when I saw the new kid pop up, and I'm like, wait a minute, like at least one of these men should be like, hey, we're I care about my children, even if they're the ones coming to the gate and like FBI say, what happened in Waco, like parents were like, hey, get my children, get my grandchildren out of there, like we're something, like and like there's more than just the camps. Malcolm is still in the woods. Are we gonna get Malcolm out of the woods, or is Malcolm in the middle? What we doing with that?
I sincerely hope that the answer to that stayed in the episode that I know that it's in. Because there is an answer to that. A lot of people have had that question. There is an answer to it, and I only say I hope because again we weren't on set, so I don't know what was filmed, what was cut in the editing room. But I do hope that stays in there because I know a lot of people have been asking, and there is a line of dialogue. There is information that explains that away, that closes that up.
All right. And then also Marcus is killing it. Also true. Again, what happened to this whole Obadiah assaulted Zane? Like that did not happen on camera. So like, what is that something that got lost in the editing or what?
So the So when you have a scene where you have a guy get castrated and follow it up in the same scene where a guy gets poked in the eye, you sort of have to start pulling back on these moments. There was a discussion about seeing what happens to Zane. We weren't able to do that because
Too much.
It was too much one, and there was kind of a appreciation for this idea that everybody is so focused on their own stuff. River's so focused on his own stuff. Ruth is so focused on her own stuff that you start to forget about people. You're going around saying we're allies, we're friends, but things are happening in the shadows, in the dark, that you're not even aware of. And you notice when Zane tells Ruth about this, Ruth's focus is still on her daughter. Like, what does that say about Ruth's character and as a person? And this is stuff that we're hoping that the audience takes away of, like, well, yeah, why would Zane trust Ruth? She's clearly expendable in this situation because I just told you this thing happened. And Ruth was like, well, that's really messed up. But you got to watch for my daughter. You know what I mean? It's like, we wanted to kind of set those things up. And we wanted Obadiah to be somebody who's operating in the shadows. And that you don't know what he's doing at any given time. Right. So you have that scene where he pops up and he talks to Manny. He's like, oh yeah, there's a drone. The drone's been here. We could have shown that, but the simple fact is now Manny looks awful because this guy is more aware of what's going on than Manny is. So those are little things that we tried to do. Again, if it didn't work, it didn't work. I'll acknowledge that, but we wanted to kind of give him a little bit more of a sinister feel.
No. So again, these are all great. Again, it's, like you said, sometimes we did miss it. Like sometimes it just wasn't there. So it just makes it we're not crazy to be like, no, this. So I'm like, oh my God, like what happened is again? I'm like, shit. I'm like, girl, you got some bad luck. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how many, and that could have been a thing too. How many times is this poor woman gonna get assaulted? I mean, shit. Like let's spread the sexual assault around. So I mean, everybody gets a little bit. Like I'm just like it could also.
I love the reaction that Stacy just had to that. Let's spread it around. I love that.
I'm just saying. I mean, it can't just keep on coming back to the well. But again, and that helps maybe other characters kind of stand up and be like, oh my God, like who is this? You know, like who is this new character that we don't know about? And they kind of flush out some of the background actors that just walk around not doing shit. And I'm like, do you not see what's going on at the front gate? They're just
right.
I was like, this don't make any kind of sense. But anyway, we talked about structure and before we started the camera. Coming to leaving a show like Bosch, which has very strong consultants, has a process, very process driven. What is it like coming to a show where it's like you're still doing the same stuff, but hey, no consultants, like you're on your own. But what's the cost? What's the cost benefit to that? To coming to a show that you're just kind of on your own.
So one of the things I didn't love about Bosch is that it's so structured. I love the structure. I love being able to be like, okay, he can work within these limitations. Let's figure out how to tell the story. But if it's so structured that like you have police procedurals or police processes that have to be a certain way, and it's getting in the way of the drama of your story, then I don't really like it as much. That's just me personally. So coming into Ruthless, it was like, okay, we want you to do these core things, but go have fun, do whatever you want to do. So it was a lot of creatively, it was very exciting. I think working with the team and the other writers, they were really fun to work with, and I feel we came up with a lot of cool stuff. I wish that, like, the way we had laid it out, I personally wish episode 9 had aired before this break, because I was like, that's kind of the beginning of the really cool stuff. But again, that's BET Plus, that's Tyler Perry. They make those decisions. But having the freedom was a lot of fun. Now the only problem we have different people in a writer's room. We all have different sensibilities. So if you have too much freedom, one episode I might be like, let's make this super grounded. It's Game of Thrones, like chess match. The next episode you might be like, off with their heads and like, you know, kind of all this craziness, you know. So it's trying to balance everybody's sensibility so that it feels like one singular coherent
Consistent
show.
story. It's actually
Yeah.
happening. It's not, hey, like someone's fever. It's a fever dream is a thing now. Like it feels like a fever dream, like you're watching. It's like everybody's having their own trip, and it's like you can see someone's writing. You can be like, oh, did this episode? No, so and so did this episode, because you can see certain things happen with the characters, and it's not consistent, but it's consistent with the writer. You know, if what they wanted to do and how they try to balance that, together. This is a good question. Zane should have used the pencil sharpener on maybe that would have been an interesting way to introduce the assault. The Obadiah is like, I need mother to help me with my man stick because it got messed up. Oh, you must have messed with Zane. Oh, gotcha, buddy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
and maybe that's a good
only, I mean, that wasn't my episode, so, and we didn't go into like a lot of detail on that, so I can't speak to that decision. But the only thing I can think of is Zane took it out because Manny was the antagonist for her. She took care of Manny.
Yes.
So why would you keep it in? You know, like I can make that argument. Like why would you keep it in?
I hear
and,
you.
Yeah. But that would have been interesting for Obadiah to get played in that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Or this is the ongoing problem, and the sharpener comes later. Right? She's like, oh, Obadiah's not going to stop, so I have to stop him.
Yeah.
You know. Also could have. Again, these are great episodes. So when is Ruthless coming back? Was that, like I said, do you know? Did they tell you?
They did not tell us. I wish they did, because a lot of people were asking me. And I was honestly, like, the date happened on IMDb. It said that episode 9 was dropping today. So everybody's hitting me up, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe there's a glitch on Amazon. I don't know what's going on. But I guess they decided to take a break. That's a decision that's above my pay grade. I just knowing what's in 9, I kind of wish we went one episode more before the break. But you guys have a lot of fun stuff to come back to. My understanding is it's going to be in March of next year.
Wow.
I'm hoping that's not correct, but the last thing I heard through the grapevine was March of next year.
Well, it could be, to, like you said, they don't have all the episodes, right? And they have a like a timeline, so we got to stretch this thing out. Like, hey, dare I say, when you got the Coke, when you ain't got enough Coke, so you got to step on it so it lasts longer. So it'd be like, okay, like let's put out a little bit now, we give them a little bit later, and I'm saying, because we don't have enough time until the next thing is supposed to drop, so we got to fill out the time frame. And
I don't know personally if I would have used that as an analogy, but that's exactly what it is. Exactly. So.
And also, Tyler Perry, the corporation, he has something dropping on Netflix like this month, so he is gonna be all right. Like, as like there's enough Tyler Perry content out there to keep his fans busy until Ruthless comes back, because that's how he usually do it. It was like Ruthless, and then All the Queen's Men, and then that led to the Oval. So it's like it's all connected. It's Tyler Perry all the time. It's just Tyler Perry never ends. That's what he should put out, that hashtag. Like him, Courtney Hemp to get together. Kemp, not hemp. That's something else. Anyway, March. Yes, that's a long time, Marcus. I don't know. Don't worry. We'll be back.
Well, and that's honestly that's the reason. Just so you guys know, that is the reason why I wish they went one more episode. I just felt like if it's going to be that much of a gap, there is a stronger ending in the next episode. I wouldn't have left it. Again, this is just me personally. I just wouldn't have left it. I think the ending you guys got is fine. But again, that's fine if you're coming back in like a month. I felt like, if you're coming back later, like give them the big ending, and then now they can think about that for a few months. Yeah.
Because hey, just between you and me and everybody watching this video, is she pregnant? Like what's on that son? That is a sonogram. Like they're doing a sonogram to find the baby, correct?
So so that's the sonogram, the ultrasound. It is a portable one. It does work on battery. Yeah, it's an old school portable one. I know that was in question. I wish they something like that. Because I get your point. I definitely get how it looked the way that it looked. I wish there was like a clear shot on it so that you could be like, okay, I know exactly what this is. But yeah, I can't tell you. I can't tell you whether or not she is. But I'll ask you this: do you want her to be? And
It,
if so, where do you want that to go?
go on, Stacey, please, please, please.
No, but since we're on the topic of babies, Lacey's Gangbang was supposed to produce and air. In what's up with that? Can we get some information on Lacey's baby? Is there a baby? Can we talk about that?
I think I can say that there's not. I think that's. I don't think there's a problem saying with her. Yeah,
So we
yeah.
went through that for nothing. All those men lined up. Nobody hit the jack.
Well, I think the it doesn't explain away or anything like that what she went through, but what happens to her and what goes down in the second half of the season, uh, it'll all make sense. Like you'll get it. What happens with her, you'll be like, yeah, yeah, I get it. I get why this happened.
Okay, so it,
Yeah.
it will be revisited in some meaningful way. They'll be like it's connected.
Yeah, I think it might be a little indirectly, but you'll get it. It's one of those things like I think that's why I appreciated binging the show because there's so many connective tissues that you have to keep in your head. And if you don't and you try to watch it week to week, you're just like, wait, what happened here? What isn't, so I totally get it. And that's why I even, I watch you guys because I'm like, for me as a writer, I can't go into season 5 and fix anything. But as a writer, I can say, well, yeah, but next time I write, this needs to be more obvious because it's not clear. And I would hope that every writer does that. Every writer in the world should get constructive criticism so they can go back and be like, well, I knew what I was doing, but I need to make it clear so that the audience fully knows what I'm doing.
But as you pointed out to us, you're just the first part, right? Like what happens on set, and
Yeah.
with the director, with the actors, perhaps is a whole other thing, and your vision may not be what makes it to screen, but that doesn't mean you didn't try, right?
Exactly.
And
I mean, one of the main things I learned on Bosch was you got to fight for your story. And they say that because you write the story, but now you're going to hand it off to a director and you're going to hand it off to the production team. They might have a totally different interpretation of every scene, of the lines, everything like that. Then you're handing it off also to actors. They might have a different interpretation of the stuff. And then you get to post, and somebody in post might be like, well, I think the scene works better like this. But they're looking at it in a vacuum. They're not looking at it like, yeah, but if you take this out, this no longer makes sense. Or it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't fully make sense.
And then people are like, "Where did the assault come from? That don't make any sense." I was like, no, you got. And then like it's like time because I know I'm real big on. I'm like, why didn't this happen? Like, this episode can't be 5 hours, David. And I'm like, yeah, we spent too much time on some silly shit. But it depends on who's doing. Like, and again, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's up to Tyler to be like, this is where I'm trying to go. And I need y'all to get there. And as long as you get there, you can have some fun in the 30, 45 minutes that we have to write this show. But River better be on top when it's all said and done. Because of this, and this, and this is how we do it.
Exactly.
So are you part of 6? Is 6 there? Can you speak to 6? Is this an ongoing thing? Was this an experiment? Was Tyler Perry just trying to see what different writers would bring to his show?
It was an experiment. I think we would have been. I think it's safe to say that we're not on 6. I don't think that's problematic to say that. And that had a lot to do, unfortunately, I think we would have been. But then the strike happened. And then the strike was like, oh, it's going to be a month. So it's like, okay, we'll come back and we'll finish up 5. We'll go into 6. But the strike took about, collectively, between the 2 strikes, it was about 8 months. And the show has to go on, so to speak. So I know there's hope. Like I don't know how far they want to keep this story going on. I just say that because the FBI is outside. Like there's only so long you can hold us off for. But if they decided to do a 7 or a prequel or a spinoff, then hopefully we'll be back on that.
Hey, if you learn anything from Tyler Perry production, time means nothing. like it's been daytime for 3 seasons, and we're like, how is that even a thing? Like the sun has to go down eventually. It's like no. It's only been 2 days. Like we
Well,
watched 5 seasons. It's only been 2 days.
that's actually the interesting thing about binging it. Like when you binge it, you don't feel it as much. You're just like,
and,
but as I'm watching it, I'm like, if I was watching this week to week, I'd be like, wait, for me, this feels like a year has passed,
yes,
guys. Like,
yes,
you
yes.
know,
And you're like, how pregnant is Ruth? Damn it! Like, how's her stomach so flat? This doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah.
I think she is based on Marva's expression of shock in the last episode. She could be shocked that there's shock means two things. She already thinks she's not pregnant. She's going into this thing saying she's lying. So if she saw a little bundle of joy in there, that could be the surprise. And so we got to see how that works. Ruth and the Highs will ever get married. Again, how long is this going to last? There's no baby. That head's coming off, so he's gonna be looking for a new bride.
You know what? I would answer that. I was actually just about to give you the answer to that because I didn't think that was a big deal. But giving you the answer to that answers something else, so I can't do that. But
I like that. I like that.
Okay. Yeah. I will just say this: it's something that came up in the room.
Okay, there you go. Then you at least y'all thought about it.
Yeah.
And Ruthless was a spinoff to the Oval, so anything can happen. That's true. I mean, and that was crazy. But with the show, it's sadly ironic that the writer's strike may have proved Tyler Perry's point to himself that I can do this by myself. I don't need other people. So when I depend on other people, they can't be there for me. And now my show is delayed. So he's like, screw it, I'll just do it myself.
And there was a lot of like things that were negotiated in the writer's strike that I don't want to speak because I don't know Tyler Perry, I don't know his thinking or anything like that. But I do know for other shows, there was a lot of things that were negotiated and that the union pushed for. The other shows were just like, screw that. Like, we're either going to do it ourselves or we're just going to cancel the show. So it's a really weird time in Hollywood right now because we fought the good fight and the fight needed to be had. But there's a cost. There's a cost. Yeah.
And then all y'all gonna start YouTube channels. Be like, hey guys,
what I might be hopping on here. This might be a 3-person situation going
on. Anytime. As I said plenty of times, we're not monetized, so I don't know how you're gonna pay your bills. It ain't
well, there you go.
We just enjoy each other. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. Stacey, any final words or questions for our illustrious guest?
No, I think the extra writers made this season have so much more depth to the characters, and I really like it. I hope truly moving forward, Tyler Perry will consider bringing in another set of eyes to his writing because sometimes he gets a little weird. But I do appreciate you coming to spend time with us little people. I was actually surprised when David emailed like he's coming. He's like, he's actually coming? Really? Oh my God. Like it was like, okay. So yeah, I appreciate you coming by and hopefully we'll see you another time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I hope he does consider writers. I mean, you need writers. You just like I don't know Tyler Perry personally, but I know the writing process. There's no way you can do all of these shows by yourself. It's just impossible. And Ruthless is what 20, sometimes 20, 22 episodes.
Yes.
So again, that's why you can read between the lines of what I'm saying. That's why I enjoyed binging it. Because I just like that
themselves so much. It's like David, Stacey. Like,
well, and things are bound to slip. You know, that's just normal. You can't. I don't know any writer in the world who can pull that off by themselves. That's why normally when you get streaming, when you hear about a writer doing it by themselves, it's 6 episodes, it's 8 episodes at the most. Even if it's like 10, you have to bring in a team. You know, you just need other voices.
Unless you just copy and paste. Someone says hello.
Oh. Yeah. Hey, Candy, how's it going? So you guys may or may not know each other. I don't know if you do. If you know the Ruthless Roundtable.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was on the Ruthless Roundtable doing an interview.
We watched that. That's the one I sent it to Stacey before we started this one. Candy, I watched yours. If you want to do it together, check out our content though. We got a different approach. Like you,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. They do have a different approach.
I was like, so you may be like, wait a minute, yeah, we go in. We go. It's all good fashion. But David definitely needs to be a writing consultant on the show. I don't know. I have strong feelings. I am aware. I was like, well, thank you. But I appreciate your interview. Help me prep for this one. But truly, hey, even if it takes March for this show to come back, we can set up time if you want. We can do Bosch. You know, what I'm saying? I did like Bosch. So if you wanted to kind of do that, kind of overall, what you think the series had to work out for you? We
we
can
could
set that up.
definitely
Would
do
that be fine?
That'd be totally fun. And if you guys want me to come back and talk about Ruthless when it does come back, we can do that as well. I'm particularly proud of, again, if everything works the way I'm hoping it works, I'm particularly proud of the second half of the season. So hopefully that all works out. But yeah, whatever you guys need. Honestly, I listened to your guys' reviews. I watched a few of them, and I was just like, I mean, I love honesty, and I think we don't get enough of that out there in YouTube spaces. We get a lot of, and that's what I loved about the Ruthless Roundtable is they know the show, they're very aware of the characters, and we just have an honest conversation about it. Some things are going to work, some things are not. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right. Is there any social media you want to promote as they do these things?
So if I am on X or Twitter or whatever you guys are calling it. I'm on there. You can just use my name, Osokwe Vasquez. You can also find me on Facebook if you want to try. I don't always accept people on there just because that's more personal. But on Instagram, I do. So if you want to hit me up, say hello, anything like that, feel free to do so. Oh, yeah, there's Jay as well. So yeah, feel free to do so. I was on Bosch for 6 seasons, so I love the show. I love talking about the show. And then personally, I am working on, I think one of the questions was like, what other genres do I like to work in?
Yes,
yeah, I'm currently, I have the rights to a couple of book series that I'm in development on, and I'm hoping to get those off the ground. I love the procedural noir landscape, but these are more supernatural based. So I'm a very spiritual person, so I love bringing that spiritual aspect into the supernatural world. And what does that look like? Some shows you can't do a lot of that on. You could do it a little bit on Ruthless, but not in the way I could do it with these other shows. So,
well, again, we can set up interviews for all those. Truly, if you want to share, and we love to share ideas here. We've rewritten all shows and movies on a regular basis. When people say, "Can you do it better?" Yes, I can. But anyway, we would love to have you back for all that.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully whenever the show does come back, everybody will enjoy the rest of it. If we don't talk beforehand, I'm sure we will. But if we don't, enjoy the rest of the year. Have a great holiday season, and keep doing what you guys are doing. I think it's great, honestly.
No, man, you and me are doing Bosch, so we'll work it out in the text when you're available, and we'll do Bosch. That's a given.
That's a given. All right, perfect.
And I'll go back and watch a couple episodes so I can remember. But again, I watched it episode 1 to the last, so it was it really, yeah, it was good.
Oh, good.
It was good.
Good.
So I look forward to doing that. Cool.
Awesome. That sounds great, man.
Thanks, man.
Definitely looking forward to it. All right, take care, guys.
Boop. All right, Stacey. Please. Let's get this right.
Are you giving me the finger? Oh, please help us reach 500 views per video.
It motivates
and 2,500 subscribers by December 15th. Thank you.
She said, "Am I giving her the finger?" I'm not Obadiah. Never mind. Boop. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. March 2025. I think I am aware. I watch all your content, to be honest. I thank you. And again, if you guys want to get together and maybe do like some kind of Ruthless, super fan type of thing, we would love to do that. Stacey and I would love to hang out with that or end this stuff. All the Queen's Men, that new Black show that's coming, whatever, what I'm saying. How do you do it? Send me an email. to our official Iron Panther email address. I don't know why I put quotes on that. It's a real thing. But anyway, do that. And then Stacey got to look. Come here, look. Boom. It's a real email address, Stacey. I'm acting like I'm making this shit up. Like, I'm like, it's a real email address. Write us, and then we will work it out. If you want to hang out with us and Stacey, we can talk about whatever's Tyler Perry, other things Tyler Perry may be into, Diddy parties. We're gonna do all of it. I'm bringing up the Diddy parties. I'm bringing up Tyler Perry. I'm bringing up the Boondocks. I'm doing all that shit. Okay, we're doing hard. We're going hard in 2024. Just apparently like Diddy did, but that's another story. I was like, oh, okay. Hey, that's no Diddy now. And either way, that's not okay. Anyway, guys. All right, so we love y'all. See y'all again. Thanks for watching this, for hanging out with us. Truly, I'm waiting until Tyler Perry comes to the chat. He will come with his lawyers. We are too small, buddy. That dude's a giant. If he came to this, he would basically just sue us, and we'll be done. And it'd be fine. But anyway, love you guys. Truly hanging out with us. Like on the video, comment on the video, share the video. We'll see you for Reasonable Doubt. I gotta go crap on that show. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Anyway. Enjoy the exit. And then we'll do some.
I will say thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. I see people watching, people in the chat.
I enjoy the view very much.
I don't know what the fuck I was watching.
Rewatch this. Rewatch this when we're done. Rewatch this. You'll see what we're talking about. You'll be like, oh shit.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
You want to go there?
Oh shit.
Stacey, do your thing. Fuck that shit.
But anyway, please like and share and comment on the video and all that kinds of stuff. As they say, we're just going to end this broadcast and say bye.